Hi, this is Lada from astrolada.com with your November 2018 horoscopes. And this month is something else. I mean, there's so many amazing shifts that are starting to happen from November. The energy is changing and we're all going to feel it collectively. Jupiter is moving from Scorpio into Sagittarius, and usually the influence of a planet moving from one sign into another is most powerful at the beginning and also at the end when it's leaving. So Jupiter will make some gift to all of us in regards to Scorpio, where we've worked hard over the last 1 year. But this time, when Jupiter enters into Sagittarius, things will start happening much easier because Sagittarius is the sign of Jupiter. Things will start flowing naturally, more positively. While Jupiter was in Scorpio, it still gave us, but through some crisis first, through some, because it's the nature of Scorpio, some crisis, or first the death of something old, so Jupiter can give birth to something new, because Scorpio is this sign about death and rebirth. So it was, yes, it gave us some expansion as well and some growth, but through more extreme ways, circumstances, through crisis of some sort. While Jupiter going to Sagittarius, wow, I mean, it's in its own sign, expansion threefold. And you're going to start feeling it from November, all of us. So we're going to speak about Jupiter, how it's going to affect you for the next 1 year in different, according to your sign. We're going to speak about the nodes, the karmic nodes where fate is changing. They're changing signs as well. I'm going to say a few quick words about what it means for you for the next year and a half, what fated events are going to be happening in your life. There is also triple manifestation this month, and I'm going to speak about it. This is according to ancient Gemini astrology. There will be a trigger of 4 houses for every person that can manifest very powerfully. So this month is really happening. It can be extremely positive. There's some difficult influences as well we'll talk about. But just to let you know that I'm doing a webinar with April on Jupiter in Sagittarius on the 9th of November. It's only $29 if you come early. And if you sign it now, or $39 if you want us to look at your chart and send you an email with what Jupiter will specifically affect you, so you know which part of the webinar is most relevant for you. And also, it's going to be very in-depth, we're going to follow everything. And also, early bird announcement for the 2019 horoscopes. Each one will be about an hour and a half long, in-depth, with days of birth, with month-by-month prediction, with everything will be I've been working on those, and I'll be working for a couple of months. And they're coming out in the middle of November. And if you order from now till the middle of November, one sign is $3.99, or all 12 signs for about $15.99. So amazing things, exciting things ahead. And let's start with the predictions. Capricorn, November 2018, and probably the most important event that affects you very personally, Capricorn, is that the nodes, the karmic fated nodes that bring one of the biggest changes in our life, that are pre-contracted before we are born almost, is moving. Those two nodes are moving into your sign. The south node is moving into Capricorn, which happens once every 18 years only. And the north node, Rahu, as we know, it is moving into the opposite sign, into Cancer, in your 7th house. So this is going to impact you for the next 18 months. And it's going to change your life around, because the eclipses basically will be affecting Capricorns. And it's going to be a little bit intense because Saturn is in your sign as well, where the north node will be. Pluto is there. So it's almost like ground zero for Capricorn. Old structures will be dispersed. Saturn rules structures, things that we try to hold on to, that we identify it with very strongly. But Ketu disperses those old associations, those old identities, part of our identity, who you think you really are, will dissolve over the next 18 months. You will come out after those 18 months a different person. And you'd feel like you've lost part of yourself, not in a scary way, hopefully, because Pluto also wants to destroy the old, wants to destroy it and rebuild it from the ashes again. And Ketu and Saturn are helping for that, even if there is resistance from Saturn trying to hold on to the status quo. And Saturn, also will try to build things because Saturn in the first house for you for the next another year and a half, 2 years is basically a year and a half, is also wanting to create new beginnings in your life. But first you have to let go of something, and this is a very intense year, starting from November gradually, where you'll start dissociating from a big part of your life to create the beginning of this new, almost like new identity that you'll be building. So you might, and Ketu is known as the wanderer. So you might find yourself in 2019 wandering a bit more than normal. Around the world even it might happen that you're trying to find direction, and Ketu makes it a little bit harder to start new beginnings because the person does not feel as confident, or the vision is not so clear about those new beginnings, because Ketu does not have a head, it's just a tail that kind of trashes about. But Saturn there also in your sign is saying you have to build new things, you have to build new foundations. And at the same time, Ketu is saying like is making you feel like, what new foundations? I'm uncertain what direction to go. I know I have to build something new, but I'm kind of a bit lost, I'm a bit confused. Just like Ketu is dissociated from the head, it's a tail. And it will be about letting go about attachments to how you perceive your life to be, your future to be, what you expect of your future, and kind of allowing actually more ambitious other people to lead the way, and to tell you and to point towards the direction where your life is going to be. Because Rahu, which is much more ambitious, which more materially savvy, opportunistic planet, is in your seventh house of others and relationships. So you're going to meet, starting from November gradually, quite ambitious people, people in much more with much more prestige or power of some sort, which Rahu usually gives, and they can be the door of opening for you to find this new beginning that Saturn wants you to build. It can be, for example, ambitious agents, or people that might believe in you while you're a little bit lost, while you're starting this new thing. You need someone to give you this push, someone who is more materially savvy, who is more risk-taking, because both Ketu and Saturn are risk-averse, and they're in your first house, so you might find it so hard to push through new beginnings. But someone else is leading you there. Someone else is helping you open the doors for those new beginnings. And this will be very different people, very exotic people. You have a craving to create, because Rahu is ravenous, is desirous, and it's in your seventh house. You have a craving to, and you go in that direction, to create ambitious business contracts, deals, negotiations, bargaining, and kind of your material success is very much dependent on others. Your material success is very much dependent on forming alliances and partnerships with more materially savvy or more kind of goal-oriented people currently, because of this kind of disconnection that the South Node can create when it's in the first house from where you want to go. So those people will show the way. So create business partnerships, alliances, and also Rahu can give the desire for kind of taboo breaking, because Rahu is risk-taking, taboo breaking relationships of some sort. It can indicate getting fascinated by a foreign person, for example, or a person who is already married, or a person who in some way, or who's been married and divorced. Rahu symbolizes such people. Or a person who is very different ethnically, culturally, religiously, very different from you in social level. Maybe someone much richer, for example, someone with a lot more status, for example, that you can get into a material, into a sexual relationship with, because seventh house rules those things as well. Or it can be a business relationship as well. It's not always sexual, but be careful. If you're married, there can be those fascinating people that appear, that are as an agent of Rahu, as agents of Rahu, representative of Rahu, that can challenge conventional vows and promises and marriage partnerships. But I'll speak more in depth about it in my yearly horoscopes, the dangers of Rahu in the seventh house and the benefits that you can use and how to progress through them. For example, I just had Rahu in the seventh house, and to be honest, you have to, and Ketu in the first, and I'm talking ascendant wise, and you kind of have to step back. You're no longer in the limelight, and you Capricorns will have to step back and give the limelight to an ambitious partner, business partner, agent, co-worker, or work peer, someone who is a peer of yours, or your marriage partner. It becomes an obsession and focus in your life, such a person, and they're the one that lead the direction somehow. and you have to very much take into consideration their needs, because they're the ones that are pushing through while you're a bit more, in the background. And probably you've noticed that it also happened in my channel, that while Ketu was transiting my first house, I kind of withdrew from the limelight, because Ketu is heights, and the first house is you, and kind of stepped back and gave the uh, gave the audience and gave the visibility spot to others, to business partners, to business associates, which is the seventh house, which is Rahu in the seventh house. And because I didn't want that. I could not. It was not about me in the last year and a half. It was about taking care of others, and because Rahu in the seventh is again not about you, it's about the others, and letting and being gainful through relationships and partnerships and such things. But Rahu also can create, can bring fated relationships, especially around the eclipses that you meet. Ones that are turn your life around, basically. And the transits of Rahu and Ketu in the first and seventh house can correspond to marriages, divorces, big changes in your life overall. But more about that in the yearly horoscopes. I'll go into depth there, which you can find out here till the 15th of November. They're just $3.99 per video. And the other big thing that is happening, and by the way, Ketu in the first house, Ketu is a very spiritual planet, spiritually minded Capricorns. They will benefit a lot. This is a period that you become more like a detached observer. You know how Buddhism talks about about observing but not putting feeling into it. How to be just a witness, the witnessing position. That's what meditation is for. Well, I was not meditating, but I definitely step back and you start observing more, and you disconnect from who you think you are as well. From you have a certain object, like my career, I'm this, and sometimes when people are not willingly don't willingly want to disconnect a little bit, take a step back, the universe, when Ketu transits the first house, can create certain situation in their life, like loss of a career, or loss of, especially in Capricorns, status of some sort, and a professional identification, because Ketu is about loss, So you stop thinking that you're just that, and you start thinking you are just an observer, and kind of things happen to you from the outside. This Rahu in the seventh house, outer people and outer circumstances independent of you are kind of leading life. But this is very spiritual influence. It can make you people that are it can make someone almost like a genius at such moments. If you have strong association with certain spiritual practices, you can start channeling. Ketu in the first house allows you to have no barriers between you and the invisible worlds, and you can kind of start channeling information of a much higher level. And something else, again, it's like another entity. Rahu in the seventh takes over and starts working through you, but you're just the face of it, because Ketu in the first. And also people will project onto you their expectations and their beliefs, and it will have nothing, you're kind of more hidden and more mysterious in this period, and it will have nothing in reality to who you truly are actually during that period. But okay, not to scare you, of course, the positive side as well, but there is also another very spiritual influence starting to happen from November for you Capricorns, and that's Jupiter is entering from the 9th of November, your 12th house. And this means that for the next 12 months, again, 12th house is very spiritual, and Ketu in your first house, Capricorns that want to develop that more esoteric side, deeper side of them, their own imagination, connection with the invisible world, meditative states, Jupiter will open those doors for them and give them easy access. Very vivid dreams can happen, again, very powerful intuition, signs and omens, and communication from your higher self or God or your spirit guides in your dream state, all through spiritual counsel, through psychics, through, people that are in the occult or the mysterious. Like you, if you go to a psychic, for example, when Jupiter is in your 12th house, you're very likely to receive very powerful and clear insight about yourself. I remember Jupiter transiting there for me many years ago was what directed me towards starting this work, and without the psychic just started saying, I see numbers, I see some planet symbols, I see you becoming famous. She said everything that happened, And never since have I had such a correct psychic prediction after that. But it's kind of when the universal gates, when Jupiter is in your 12th house, open, and you can receive insights and guideship from the invisible world. And it's also great for working on with the psychology, or something behind the scenes, working on your subconscious. People that are in imaginative field that are working, for example, with anything to do with creative imagination of any sort, or working in the hotel industry, in the retreat industry, in holiday industries. This is all about taking one out of their normal environment and putting them in kind of a different world. This is what holidays are about. They can have very successful 12 months. Jupiter can really grow this up for them. While for others, the inner private world becomes much more vivid. The imagination becomes very vivid. Spirituality, deep understanding. Jupiter in the 12th house brings deep understanding of certain subject. So if you want to study something in depth, this is true knowledge. This is true in depth, like you'll start seeing, like, this is when astrology started making sense to me, when Jupiter transited my 12, for example. After studying it for 7 years, it finally started to kind of to get like a deep intuitive understanding of it. Jupiter brings that. So it's great for people that are in some intense research for the next 12 months, Jupiter in the 12th house, maybe doing a PhD, maybe doing a doctorate, maybe doing some scientific research, maybe doing some studies of mysteries and very deep subject, maybe doing some psychological work and working with someone privately behind the scenes, exploring their subconscious. Okay. And particularly, and it can also mean that Jupiter in the 12th house can allow you to take a break in the next 12 months, in the sense, well, Saturn is in your sign. You'll still have to work, but some holidays can manifest, And this already starts from November, because Jupiter from the 9th is there 8th, and with Mercury together. And they both create a triple manifesting power of the sign Sagittarius, which is your 12th house. So that can manifest for you a holiday to a faraway place. Plus, they're also triple manifesting Jupiter and Mercury aspecting your 9th house, your 3rd house, and your 6th house. So anything connected to those 4 houses has a positive manifestation in the last 20 days of November, from the 9th onwards. So faraway country travels with plane or short trips, very likely. So if you're Capricorn rising, this technique works with the rising sign the most. If you're Capricorn rising, some travels international, access to foreign countries, access to global traveling of some sort. Also good manifestations through your work in the second part of the last 20 days of November, 6th house. Good manifestation in regards to your health, something positive else happening there. In regards to having to organize and plan something, again, 3rd and 6th house of the houses of organization, planning, fantastic time for them. And you just be careful not to miss certain details, because Mercury is going to be retrograde in your 12th house, square Neptune in the 3rd house, so you can omit some miscommunications can happen. You can omit some piece of information, or you can put wrongly certain data, so watch out for that. Or because you're having big visions or imaginations, you miss the more practical side of things. And also be careful not to lose your devices, telecommunication devices, break them, lose them, or some damage to them of some sort. But any projects, 3rd house also rules business, communicative, business administration, commercial activities, sales, marketing, organizing, promotions. These things go well the last 20 days of the month. Because of the double manifesting power of Jupiter that triggers it, your work as well, travels, anything to do with higher education, with foreign studies, with taking exams as well of some sort. So all those things are good. Retreats, hotels. And yes, Mercury can be retrograde from the second part of the month, but this all those 4 houses that we talked about with the triple positive manifestation, despite of certain complications because of those retrograde planets, they give beneficial results eventually. So that's for you, Capricorn. Join me in the yearly horoscope for Capricorn. You can reserve your seat now for $3.99 only. And the videos are coming in the middle of November. If you want to see the fuller picture for the year with specific days, of people born, how it's going to affect them, more month by month prediction. So it's going to be much more in depth. So thank you very much.